All right. And we're reading the book Sri Sharda Devi and Her Divine Play. We're in the chapter called Holy Mother as a Guru. And yes, it says here, it starts off rather interestingly here tonight. It says the Hindu scriptures testify that the divine power does not become fully manifest in the Guru until his or her raw ego is completely wiped out. When this limited I-ness is annihilated, that person becomes an instrument of the cosmic I or the divine mother. And that's what we're always talking about. As soon as we break that ego or get it thinned enough, here he's talking about complete defacement because he's talking about an ideal guru, so as a realized soul. And when we lose this ego self, which is based on the needs of body mind, an identity with body mind, when we lose that, we actually move into the present moment because ego is built entirely on the past. And when we're acting in accordance with the thought of me rather than me, right? When we're dealing with the thought of me, we're in the head. And the head thinking is always in the past. You can't think in the present because by the time the thought occurs, the present is gone. And so all thinking and all egoistic motivations happen in the past, happen from the past. And when a person effaces that egoism, they for the first time come into the present, which is indicated by the spontaneity of the inspiration to action and the spontaneity of mind with what it presents to be said and what it presents to be taught. And that comes directly unfiltered from the universal Satchitananda. So it's always very pure and always free of me and mine. And so that is what a mature or ripened guru looks like. So that person becomes an instrument of the cosmic I or the divine mother. Right? Since we're talking cosmic, we're talking the changing world, the power of God. And since we're talking about the power of God, it's credited to the divine feminine, to Holy Mother. So the power of the Guru is not human. It is the divine mother's special power that possesses the Guru's body and mind. That's why even Ramakrishna says that one cannot have liberation unless the divine mother grants it. And that means from any source. The divine mother, the mother of mind, needs to she is the one that gives us that permission to transcend, to go home. So we have to have her favor, her grace, right? And that's why she talks, when Holy Mother talks, she talks about the grace of your own mind, right? Because active mind, which is the power of God, is your mind in its conditions and its circumstances. So regarding the identity of Guru consciousness with God consciousness, the Guru Gita proclaims, the Guru is Brahma, the Guru is Vishnu, the Guru is Shiva. I bow down to the Guru who removes the darkness of ignorance from the eyes of the collyrium stick of knowledge. The compassionate Lord removes ignorance and delusion from human minds through the divine power of the Guru. This is why devotion to the Guru and devotion to God are the same. The Svetasvaratara Upanishad says, he is truly a great soul who has the highest devotion for God and as much devotion for his Guru as for God. The truths explained to such a person will surely reveal their meaning to him. The mystery of God, or the Atman, is unfathomable because it is beyond thought and speech. That is why one needs an illumined Guru who can show the way. The Katha Upanishad says, wonderful is the expounder and rare the hearer. Rare indeed is the experiencer of the Atman taught by an able preceptor. So this whole notion of treating the Guru like God, it's a way, we talked about the need of a Guru because the Guru is outside of your ego sphere, right, is outside of the reach of your ego. And obeying a guru, obeying someone else implicitly as if they're God, is probably one of the most offensive things to the ego possible. You know, the ego wants a great guru. That's why we all run around, as much as I hate it, run around asking each other who your guru is, right? Because there's a certain egoism if you think you've got a good guru. And so you run around talking about your guru. Well, what we want is a guru that's outside of that egosphere. But if we have to have one in the egosphere, we like to have one that matches our idea of an advanced soul, so that, you know, we get some credit for having a great guru. But in fact, it would do you better if you were learning from the drunk next door as your guru, because it would take a sincere act of humility to listen to a drunkard, right? And that's why Thakur says, even outright, he says, even if your guru visits the grog shop, you know, hangs out at the bar, it's still your duty as his student to treat him as the guru and respect him as God. And you obey him even in that state. And Thakur promises even beyond that. He said, if you're willing to do that, then the Lord will provide your next guru, the guru that you graduate into from that. But that your dedication to your guru is not so much about what the guru is teaching you, as much as it is an ego breaker for you to be in obedience to another in your spiritual life. You see, and so it's helpful, very helpful to have a guru, because the ego, or the veil of Maya, is what prevents us from being able to hear our inner guru. And so the humility of obedience is very helpful to breaking or thinning that wall of egoism that prevents us from hearing that divine teacher within, the divine voice within, which really, to be sure of that voice, you have to find the shrine for sure. You have to find that silence of the inner shrine that comes before mind. You know, when you silence thought, that inner guru is reliable and present and able to be heard. All right. And there are many gurus or spiritual teachers in the world, but as manifestations of God's power, all gurus are the same. All right. So all gurus are the manifestation of God's power, and they're all considered the same. At the outset of the spiritual journey, one should have love, faith, and steadfast devotion for one's own guru, and follow his or her instructions implicitly. Right? So having a guru is no small matter. You follow their instructions implicitly. Do exactly as they tell you, and consult with them regularly about the condition of your practice, what you're reading, what you're learning from it, you know, and your questions come into it. But you should, a student, to be a good student, it's your responsibility to be in touch with your guru and to be actively working with your guru in your spiritual life, you know, and at the very least, be practicing with the mantra that they give you, right? And so that's this idea, you know, Holy Mother was complaining. She says, you know, I give thousands of people instructions. I initiate thousands of people, but she says, among them, how many can I find that even bother to repeat the mantra that I give, you know? And so it's a very important relationship. And, you know, if I was to put it in worldly terms, God considers your treatment of the guru considerably when mapping out your path. Now, that's about as Christian of a version of God as I will ever dare to talk about. That hurt me even to put those words in there. But like that, you know, that your devotion to your guru should be sincere and it should be deep. And you should have that notion that you're treating your guru as you're treating the divine, and implicitly listen, because it's not so much about the actual quality and words of your guru as it is about your attitude toward your guru that will be helpful to you in moving toward God through the breaking down of egoism, right? Through your obedience to that guru. And if that guru, the less that guru is, as it were, if we could actually say such a thing, but the less that guru is actually in a way more advantageous to you, because it's going to take a greater humility to subject yourself to a guru that you don't approve of, that you don't think is as on the ball as your guru should be. That extra humility that it takes for you is extra advantageous to you in getting to where we need to go. How's that for popular news right there? Later in the advanced stage, one will realize this truth. My Lord is the Lord of the universe, and my Guru is the Guru of the world. Despite this sublime teaching, some narrow-minded fanatics develop guru cults and think their guru is the greatest. Without understanding the main purpose of the guru, they create various factions and fight to prove the supremacy of their respective gurus. Yeah, what do you say about that? You know, the very thing that the guru is designed to eradicate, some people use to become proud of their guru, and then believe their guru to be the only right guru, and then go to battle over it. Don't be that person. Please, let's not be that person. Once Swami Satprakashananda said to Swami Shivananda, some receive initiation from Holy Mother and some from Maharaj, meaning Swami Brahmananda. Is there any difference? He's asking. Swami Shivananda replied, I don't see any difference. The same Ganges water is coming through two different faucets. The same grace of the Master is coming through Holy Mother and through Maharaj, right? So that we access the grace of God through our guru. It's not the guru, it's not the spigot that determines the quality of the water you're getting, right? Your guru is just a spigot. It's God that runs through the guru. And so don't think that because you've got a spigot made of gold that somehow your water is better than someone whose spigot's made of tin or just coming out of a rock somewhere. According to Swami Shivananda, this Ganges water is Ramakrishna, who is purifying and awakening the God consciousness of people who receive initiation from the gurus of the Ramakrishna order. As an incarnation of God, the Master always reminded his devotees, Satchitananda, or God, is the only guru, father, and master. All right. Well,
repeat that, please.
Well, I don't want to repeat it. I want to challenge it.
Me too. That's why I would like you to repeat that last.
Yeah, that last sentence, because of this last sentence is counter to some of the things we just read. According to Swami Shivananda, this Ganges water is Ramakrishna, who is purifying and awakening the God consciousness of people who receive initiation from the gurus of the Ramakrishna order. As an incarnation of God, the Master always reminded his devotees, Satchitananda, or God, is the only guru, father, and master. He could not bear anyone calling him guru or Baba, father, or Karta, master. To avoid developing a narrow guru cult, all gurus of the Ramakrishna order, from Holy Mother and the direct disciples down to the present Swamis, have pointed out that Ramakrishna is the Ishta, or chosen deity, as well as the guru. He is the goal, the support, the Lord, the witness, the abode, the refuge, and the friend. And I'll go on record here saying that even this is a bit too narrow for the teachings of Ramakrishna. Ramakrishna came as Krishna, and so those devotees of Krishna are also getting that same guru. They say Ramakrishna said he came as Rama, so then your devotees of Rama are also getting that guru. We know that the incarnations are a whole through which God is seen, that each one of them is representative of the divine guru itself, the Lord, the beloved. So this idea of even mentioning any kind of special relationship with the Ramakrishna order is already but troublesome, let's say. And of course I'm going to get yelled at for countering something that Swami Shivananda said, as if who am I to do such a thing, which is absolutely true. And if you want to take that route, I support you in it. I still feel the same way, though. So what can I do? But yes, God is one without a second, and God is the guru in all of its many forms and facets and manifestations. And so to seek God, we must have a guru. Ramakrishna himself says that yes, a guru is necessary. He says, especially in the beginning, because in the beginning, our ego's in charge of what we do, right? And if you're going through the spiritual buffet of practices and you put your guru in charge and say, oh, I like this practice. No, I like that practice. Oh, I don't like that practice. Oh, no, I definitely don't like that idea. I'll take 2 of those, though, over there, the blue ones. If we treat our spiritual life that way, then all you're doing is growing in egoism, growing your ego nicely, relying on it for teaching, relying on it for your practices, relying on it for your instructions. And so this is why we have to find a guru. We have to somehow get around that egoism with its preferences and its aversions, and dedicate ourselves to something outside of that egosphere in an effort to help us break it, to help us get it thinned out so that we can see through it and hear the divine. Yes.
Just real quick while it's there. So he just said that Satchidananda Brahman is God. He's referring to God and Father, just like Jesus referred to God the Father. And knowing Brahman, their incarnation in the ideal form, the incarnation is still going to refer to the absolute, because they don't want you to attach to form, because the absolute truth is beyond through all things. So still, no form.
Right. Well, the form's temporary.
Right.
The form is temporary. But so they don't mind the form, but even it's also part of their own structure. They don't have an ego, so they're never going to point to themselves. They're never going to do that. If it does get written down or recorded that way, I would bet you 1,000,000 to 1 that was a devotee who wrote that about them at some point, because an incarnation would never sees themselves as the thing itself. They're always they're always a lens through which you're seeing the Father. He who has seen me has seen the Father. I and the Father are one. And so all of these notions for the word is the manifestation. It is not necessarily the thing itself. Although I don't know that that's true all the way down.
It just is. It is.
Yeah.
This is.
And so, but yeah, like that. So we have a very broad idea here that the guru, that whom God has given you to in order to help you along on your path, is a very important role. So he says here, as an incarnation of God, the master always reminded his devotees, Satchitananda, or God, is the only guru, father, and master. Why? Because Ramakrishna could not bear anyone calling him guru, calling him father, or calling him master. To avoid developing a narrow guru cult, all gurus of the Ramakrishna order, from Holy Mother and the direct disciples down to the present Swamis, have pointed out that Ramakrishna is the Ishta, or chosen deity, as well as the guru. He is the goal, the support, the Lord, the witness, the abode, the refuge, and the friend. Yes, as all the incarnations would be. That is all there. The Kularnava Tantra says that a person will go to hell if he or she thinks of the guru as a human being, the mantra as a word, and the image of God as a piece of stone. Right? So if we take these things and unspiritualize them, put them into the world of the senses, the world of the changing, He says, you're not going to go to hell as a punishment for doing that necessarily. And the hell he's talking about here is the Vedantic hell. So it's a temporary suffering that you go for in payment. But if you believe your guru just to be a man, you believe that the mantra is just a word, and you believe that the image in the temple is just a rock. Well, what can just a man, a rock, and a word do for you? Right? Nothing. The word, the mantra is powerful because it's has helped somebody to realize God. Somebody has realized God through that mantra. So that mantra has a power in it and of itself, and it's been given to you by the guru, which is by the Lord himself. And so it has a divine origin for you. And that image on the shrine, yes, in essence, it's a rock. But in practice, it's the face of the beloved. It's God placing himself in a limited form for you to have a relationship with, for you to work through with. And this notion that image worship is evil. Really, the worst form of image worship is to believe that you exist separate and apart from God. That's the worst one. And then to turn around and worship your ego by doing what it says, that's even a further problem. So the real issue with image worship is not the stone on the altar, it's the stone in the heart that makes you think that you are separate and apart from God, and that you would dare to put your ideals, your desires above the teachings of the beloved. So that's the real situation when it comes to that. So yes, there is power in the guru, there's power in the mantra, and there's power in the scriptures, and there's power in the shrine, right? But the power of all of those things does not come from the things themselves. It comes from the divinity behind those things, the one without a second, our divine beloved.
But don't they literally become more and more vested over time, per se?
What they being?
The images or the of the Ishta, like or like your images on your puja table.
Mm-hmm. They become more vested, meaning
that as you practice and meditate on them and worship the image, that they become more and more vested with the holiness, or the Ishta themselves.
Well, certainly the worshiper will experience that way. There is the idea that you leave behind those vibrations of worship, but we have to be careful. The image on the shrine is never intended in itself to be worshipped. Even Vivekananda says that we worship through that image. So we don't look at the image and worship the image as itself. Vivekananda says that's karma inducing. And so if you do that, the best that you can achieve is going to Ramakrishna Loka or Buddha Loka, or the Loka of that particular face of God. But if you worship through it, that's liberation. So if you want liberation, you worship through the image to the divine behind it. If you want the Loka, then you stop at the face of the deity. And but for liberation, for freedom, we worship through the image, and that's the differentiation talked about by Swami Vivekananda. So yeah, and I like that idea. We worship through all images. We worship through all gurus. We worship by looking through Maya. We appreciate the mountains by looking through them and attributing their majesty to the presence of the beloved. The serenity of the ocean or mountain, water, lake. We always attribute to God the ideals or the attributes of these things that are inspirational. All things that take us up are of God, right? So the Kularnava Tantra says that the person will go to hell if he or she thinks of the guru as a human being, the mantra as a word, and the image of God as a piece of stone. Swami Bhuteshananda said, If one thinks that the body of the guru is the guru, then the doctrine of the guru will end with the doctrine of the body. But if one considers the guru as the Ishta or as the chosen deity, then when the guru dies, one will not miss the guru. The guru is the eternal guru, right? So the guru, when you're the face of God, the person who is the face of the divine for you, your guru, when they pass away, basically they move inside. They basically move inside you. They become the presence of the deity within you, and the voice of the living guru within you. But if you believe them to only be a body and you were following them academically, then they're gone. Their benefit to you has ended, and that's there. So the guru is the eternal guru. And the master used to say, the guru is like a female companion of Radha. As there is no end to her love errands until her friend Radha is united with Krishna, so there is no rest for the guru until the spiritual aspirant is united with God. See, we've got this wonderful ideal that the guru will not take their liberation until you are free as their student. You know, I heard a teacher tell me that one time, that that's the ideal of the guru, is that they refuse to step over that threshold of liberation until all of their students have stepped over it. You know, and so this is another reason to highly respect your guru, because they are holding back their own freedom in order to help you, in order to serve you. And so if you have trouble loving your guru, think about that. That's a beautiful commitment on their part. So there is no rest for the guru until the spiritual aspirant is united with God. Thus, the great guru accompanies the sincere devotee to the higher and higher realms of spirituality, and finally presents the devotee to the chosen deity, saying, "My child, look there." And then immediately the guru disappears. Oof, goodness, I could totally get lost in that little statement right there. What a beautiful, beautiful thing. Can you imagine your guru, your last moment in delusion, your last moment in ignorance, and the job of your guru is to just take your arm and say, "Brother, look." And you turn your head and you're free. The guru's gone. No more guru, no more separation for you. No more bondage for you. That's the guru. So the great guru accompanies the sincere devotee to higher and higher realms of spirituality, and finally presents the devotee to the chosen deity, saying, "My child, look there." And then immediately the guru disappears. One day when the devotee heard the master saying this, he realized that someday separation from the guru would be inevitable. So with a sorrowful heart, he asked, "Sir, where does the guru go then?" The master replied, "The guru merges into the chosen deity or Ishta. The guru, Krishna, and the devotee, these three are one, and the one is manifested as three." The guru transmits spiritual power during the initiation ceremony and connects the disciple with God through a mantra. This is called Diksha, or initiation. According to the Tantra, Di means dayate or jnanam, dayate jnanam, or gives knowledge. Sha means chayate, pashu vasana, or destroys animal or worldly desires, right? Desires based on body or mind. According to the Agama scriptures, the Supreme Lord Shiva established three kinds of initiation: Shambhavi, Shakti, and Mantri. When a disciple attains knowledge instantly by merely seeing, touching, or paying obeisance to the guru, it is called Shambhavi initiation. When an illumined guru transmits his or her divine power into the disciple's heart and awakens spirituality, it is called Shakti initiation. In the Mantri initiation, the guru draws a diagram, installs a ghat or sacred picture, performs worship of the deity, and then utters a mantra in the ear of the disciple. When the disciple repeats the mantra while fixing the mind on the Ishta, his or her worldly desires subside, and the mind becomes pure. This I cannot attest to enough for us, that this constant repeating of the mantra is what removes the me and mine from your mind. It does it in many ways. One, by continually making you aware of the presence, and also awakening the presence within you, because of every time you, Hafiz says that saying the mantra is like passing the soul through a piece of cheesecloth. That every time you repeat the mantra, you become just that much purer every time. And so it has that capability of removing the me and mind from the heart. It also has that capability of preventing the mind from idling on you and on me and mine, right? Because it's idling on the name of God, which means that the thought of God, the form of God, is being invoked within you at every moment. It increases your faith and puts you in touch with that faith. And when you see that the Guru is the source of that grace that you desperately need to reach this ideal, then the three do really become one for you. You realize that your Guru is not separate from your Ishta, and that the Guru is not separate from the love of God, that the Guru is actually a manifestation of the love of God given to you to bring you home, to show you the way, to lead you through the dark. And so to have this wonderful reverence, which will come quite naturally if we could see these things more clearly as they are. When the disciple repeats the mantra while fixing the mind on the Ishta, his or her worldly desires subside, and the mind becomes pure. At the time, part of this too is, when you start chanting the Guru's name, at some point that becomes a manifester of your bliss. It makes you aware of your inherent bliss, so that name is what clears away this egoism and allows you to begin to be connected with this beautiful arrangement in the heart, this shrine of the beloved within the heart. At that time, the mind becomes the Guru and it acts like the Guru, right? So when the mind is repeating the mantra and fixing itself on the deity, on the chosen form of God, at that time, the mind becomes the Guru and acts like the Guru. Actually, the word mantra is connected with the mind. Mananat trayati iti mantraha. That word is the mantra upon which one reflects to attain salvation. It is amazing how the infinite God remains hidden in the seed mantra. That this mantra, that this name of the beloved, has such a power. What an amazing thing. That the Guru is God, that the mantra is God. And there was a time where I was really using that in my practice, that I was trying to see the mantra as not just being mantra, not just something I'm repeating, but that it invokes the actual presence of God, that you cannot separate name and form. You can't say milk without thinking of its form, the whiteness of milk. And so you can't say God without drawing your highest ideal, whatever God is to you at this moment. And that will always expand as your knowledge of the divine expands in it. And so this presence of God is another way that I have worked on my intimacy with the beloved, with the divine. And that is having faith that even though there have been many times, probably the vast majority of my life actually, where I felt no presence of God. I felt just kind of my own dullness, my own self in this world, and fought my way through it. And when I stumbled across this idea of initiation and getting a mantra and practicing meditation and having a teacher, I really took to heart this notion that the mantra is God. Because again, I was looking for ways, how do I know that God is with me? How can I know this? How can I have confidence in this? And, there's many of those ways that I've talked about. Certainly your Satchitananda, the fact that you exist, the fact that you can give and experience love, the fact that you can learn and transcend your mistakes. Those are all three indicative of the presence of God. And now you have another one, the mantra, is indicative of the presence of God. You can't say the mantra without knowing that you are intimately with the beloved. And so you have to accept that through faith. And through that acceptance and faith, you soak in that. You become absorbed in that beauty and that depth of the presence. And that's all that's necessary. That presence is the tuning fork of your soul, right? The presence of God is how you tune the soul. That's how the mind becomes pure. That's how you begin to know where to find the presence within you. On February 11th, 1913, Swami Arupananda carried a tiny banyan seed to Holy Mother in Kolpara ashrama and said, "Look, Mother, this seed is smaller than the seed of red spinach, and yet from this seed comes such a huge tree. What a wonder." She replied, "Why not? Just see how small the bija, the seed mantra of the Lord's name is, and yet from that springs forth in due time spiritual consciousness, ecstasy, devotion, and love. Ramakrishna said, there is great power in the seed of God's name. It destroys ignorance. A seed is tender and the sprout soft. Still, it pierces the hard ground. The ground breaks and makes way for the sprout." Indeed, what a great way of thinking about that. You know, that mantra, you know, a seed, which is the mantra, sprouts and grows the presence of God. And if you've ever planted a tree next to a house or a sidewalk or a driveway, you see the power of that seed. You know, it'll split a rock in half easily. You know, it'll crumble a sidewalk. It'll lift up a whole corner of the house. And so this is the power of the mantra. This is something to build your faith with, to know that in your deepest struggle, just utter that mantra. It is powerful enough to move whatever thought is hassling you out of the mind. It is strong enough. You know, it will match the power of your will. Right? It will match the power of your will. So if you're saying the mantra and you desire it's the freedom that it offers, then it is the most powerful thing you could utter. If you're split, you know, and you're uttering that mantra, it may not seem so powerful because its power is going to be spent on unifying that will within you, helping you to bring those threads together so you can, you know, thread the needle, as they say, so that your desires aren't split and pulling you in all different directions. So this mantra is a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful gift. And, you know, just if I want to get up on my testimony board and testify, oh boy. If I want to get up there and do that, you know, I can tell you that without the mantra, I could not have done any of my spiritual life. If I didn't have that to hold on to all these years and to pull me through all of some scars, my goodness, you know, I had a big bag full of rotten mashed potatoes that I was carrying with me when I joined. And it was the mantra that allowed me to let that set down, that allowed me to see that it was just rotten mashed potatoes. And I needed to go forward. So don't doubt your mantra. Don't take your guru lightly. You know, don't take their instructions as suggestions. Take their instructions as absolutes. And if you want to battle with it, go battle with your guru. No problem. You can battle with your guru. You can argue with your guru. But at the end of the day, you better surrender to your guru, because Mother sees that guru as herself and sees the way you treat your guru as the way that you are treating her. So these are very, very, very important words here for us. All right, so the power of the mantra. Mother, Guru, and Goddess. Ramakrishna said about Holy Mother, Sharada is an incarnation of Saraswati, the goddess of learning. She was born to bestow knowledge upon others. He transferred the results of his spiritual experiences to her and taught her various mantras relating to particular deities so that she could continue his spiritual ministry after his passing away. In Holy Mother's life, we find the goddess acting as a guru and also as a mother. Swami Gambhirananda described how these three aspects, the goddess, the guru, and the mother, blended harmoniously in Holy Mother's life. Whenever she appears to us as mother, we get a glimpse of her inherent power of imparting that true knowledge that dispels all ignorance. When we approach her as guru, she draws us to her lap as a mother. And when we recognize the mother and guru in her, we find her seated transcendently in her own divine effulgence. In fact, we cannot discern where any of these mutually dependent aspects ends and another begins. So we see this in the things that we've read about the Divine Mother. We've seen that young disciple who bows down before her and is wondering, what kind of mother is she? Is she my real mother? And Mother says, I'm your real mother. And he says, well, what do you mean by my real mother? And then he looks up and she lifts the veil, and it's his real mother's face. She becomes his real mother. She shows him that I am everything that you love in your earthly mother. I am her. Right? And then we have that other story of the disciple who's washing her feet, and her feet look so old and wrinkled. And he thinks to himself while he's washing her feet, how can the goddess of the universe have such horrible looking feet? How is that possible? And he says when he took the towel back and he looked back up, the feet were effulgent and shining like a burnished bronze. And he looked up and saw Mother with her four arms, and her divine face. And he passed out, passed out on the spot for it. And then we see how as she grew older, Isherwood, met her apparently, and he said about her that, in her old age, she just lived, she occupied a world which was full of her very own children. And that she just walked around without awareness always. Everybody she saw was intimate to her, was her child, and had no fear. So we see that Divine Mother, that Divine Guru, and the Divine Goddess all in one. That she is the manifestation of God's power. She's the one that holds the key to our liberation. She is the face of our Guru. She is the strength of that Guru. She is the Guru itself. Although Holy Mother appeared to be an affectionate and loving mother, it would be a great mistake if we were to consider her as an ordinary human being. Truly, the Divine Mother incarnated as Sharada Devi and acted as a human mother and guru. Endowed with divine power, wisdom, glory, purity, renunciation, love, and compassion, she awakened spirituality in the hearts of her disciples and granted liberation to them. The human guru imparts the mantra in the ear, and the divine guru transmits the mantra to the soul. A true guru is an awakener and a redeemer of souls, and takes upon himself or herself the burden of sin from the disciples and suffers on that account. Holy Mother did not seek disciples. She once said, "Those who care to come to me will do so of themselves after severing the shackles of the world. I shall not send for them." So we go to the Mother. She's not going to send for you. So you have to have that initial impetus to go and ask for your freedom, to go and ask for your liberation. Holy Mother lived a secluded life. Very few knew of her existence. During her lifetime, her photographs were not shown in public, and nothing was written about her except for brief mentions in the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna and Sri Ramakrishna and his divine play. How then did people come to know about her? As a magnet's attraction is irresistible to iron, so was the attraction of Holy Mother as a guru. Tormented by worldly afflictions, many weary souls took refuge in her, seeking release from Maya. Some aspirants approached her for initiation upon recommendation from the Master's disciples and other Swamis of the Ramakrishna order. Some heard about her from friends and relatives who had already been initiated. Some came to know of her through dreams or visions. Holy Mother looked into their hearts and accepted them without considering their race or social position. Ramakrishna chose disciples after testing them, but the Mother initiated everyone who asked her for it. Right, so that's where the idea of Mother's riffraff comes from. She said that Thakur took all the good disciples and left her with the riffraff. And so, of course, I have to admit that I came stumbling into the order through Mother. I have a very, very, very partial to Mother. Of course, that's not so true as much anymore. But that notion, she gave everything. Gave everything. Uh-oh, something's happening in the chat room, it looks like. All right, let's see, where are we here? So how did people come to know about her? Tormented by worldly affliction, many weary souls took refuge in her, seeking release from Maya. Some approached her for initiation upon recommendation from the Master's disciples. And some came to know of her through dreams or visions. Holy Mother looked into their hearts and accepted them without considering their race or social position. Right? So this whole notion here of coming to the Mother in all these various ways, it is amazing. Actually, I often think about that Ramakrishna didn't travel much. He went on a couple of pilgrimages, but he never arranged lectures. He never wrote anything. He never advertised anything. He really simply lived his life. And if there was nothing incredible about it, how is it that all of us are here 125 years later, listening and having accounts of everything that he said and everything that he taught? How does a village priest who just lived as a village priest infect the entire world, with a message? And Holy Mother, who was even more remote than that, who hid behind her veil. Most of the direct disciples never even saw her face. How is it possible that her words, an entire book of them, is sitting on my lap, literally on the other side of the planet, within 100 years of her passing? It is an amazing thing. It's a real testament that Mother, when she does her work, she doesn't need you to do grandiose things. She doesn't need you to be famous. She doesn't need you to be extraordinary. That she can take a very normal you and change an entire world. And you would never even know it. You would die thinking that you were just an ordinary temple priest who had very little effect on the world. But because of your devotion, because of your surrender, because of your willingness to die to the self, to get rid of your ego, Mother will be able to touch huge numbers of people through you. So don't ever bemoan your state or your lack of contribution or your lack of worthiness or your impurity or your smallness or all these other things that your ego will always delight in pointing out to you. You have the Divine Mother's permission to transcend that, to know that every one of us is great in our own way and that we will not find that great way, but Mother will polish it and breathe on it and shine it up for us. And she will use it without our awareness of it. She will save us from our own greatness and use us nonetheless. Once in a women's gathering in Udbodhan House, Yogan Ma commented with a smile, "The Mother undoubtedly loves us all, but not as intensely as the Master did. What concern and love he had toward his disciples, we saw it with our own eyes. Words cannot describe it." Holy Mother said, "Is that to be wondered at? He accepted only a few select disciples, and that too after various kinds of testing. Toward me, he had pushed a whole row of ants." It's funny. It's funny as I go on, I get a better and better picture of really what's going on in my life with the divine. All right. So towards me, he has pushed a whole row of ants. After Ramakrishna's passing away in 1886, Holy Mother spent a year on pilgrimage, staying mostly in Vrindavan. Her spiritual ministry started at the master's bidding when she gave her first formal initiation in Vrindavan to Swami Yogananda. She lived for another 33 years after that. During the first 11 years, which ended in 1898, she led a secluded life in Karmarpur, Jairambati, and Calcutta. During the second 11 years, which ended in 1909, the public began to hear about her, and she initiated a few disciples. During the third 11 years, which ended in 1920, she initiated innumerable men and women who came to her from various stations and stages of life. Among them were the rich and the poor, the young and old, students and teachers, lawyers and physicians, noble souls and sinners, revolutionaries and eccentrics. She even initiated a few monastic and householder disciples of the master, and also some aspirants who came to her from other parts of India and the West, whose languages were unknown to her. Swami Nikhilananda writes this: a silent yearning constantly welled up from her heart. Come, all of you, I am here for your sake. I shall soothe my heart, showing you the way to liberation. She did not publicly summon devotees. She did not write books. She did not issue statements or mount a public platform. The disciples of Sri Ramakrishna were extremely reticent about her. Perhaps they were afraid that ordinary people would take her lightly or not show her proper respect. But drawn by her irresistible attraction, they all came. She seemed to be waiting for them. Let them all come, her motherly heart said. None of them will be rejected. Suppose they have lived sinful lives. Will they be deprived of my blessings on that account? She initiated them in the shrine room and from her sickbed, on roads and railway platforms, in meadows and under trees. All felt when with her that they were in the presence of an affectionate mother, and made all kinds of demands upon her, reasonable and unreasonable. To the best of her power, she tried to satisfy them. She had hardly any respite, even when she badly needed it. If no devotee came to her on a particular day, she would say, "No one has come. This day seems to be passing in vain." Very shortly, a seeker would arrive. This went on till nearly the end of her life. One day, Holy Mother said seriously to a disciple, "He is unfortunate indeed who does not feel my compassion. I do not know anyone, not even an insect, for whom I do not feel this compassion." So we'll end there for today.